Welcome to Streaming Dialogues, the podcast where insights meet innovation in video streaming. In each podcast episode, we thoroughly explore the ever-evolving world of video streaming. Along with our distinguished guests, we analyze the cutting-edge aspects of both the business and technology in video streaming.
This podcast is brought to you by Jump Data-Driven Video, the unified analytics and personalization platform for video services.
We believe that with the right insights and the right people, we can shape the future of the industry together. So sit tight, open your ears and minds, and let's dive into the world of video streaming.
Hello, welcome to a new episode of Video Streaming Dialogues. My name is Jerónimo Macanaz, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Jump Data-Driven Video. Today, I'm super excited to chat with Bleuenn, the VP of Strategy and Business Development at Accedo.tv. Bleuenn isn't just any industry leader. She's the trailblazer in eco-friendly video streaming. Think of her as the superhero of sustainable streaming. At Accedo.tv, Bleuenn has been a powerhouse, turning innovative ideas into reality and building game-changer partnerships. His latest mission, leading green streams, a movement to make video streaming more sustainable. In this episode, we will dive into how Bleuenn is rocking the boat in the streaming world. We are talking challenges, wins, and what it takes to go green in an industry that's always on the move. So join us as we get the inside scoop from Bleuenn on driving sustainability in streaming. Let's roll. Hello, Bleuenn. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm great. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
But I'm looking forward to this discussion. You're in warm Madrid. I'm in cold Stockholm. But I'm sure we will exchange a lot. I can't wait to have your data mind to challenge a bit what we've learned on sustainability. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'll try it. Well, it's a cold Stockholm, but you were mentioning out of the mic that it's becoming warmer and warmer. That, by the way, is linked with today's discussion, right? So it's crazy. You mentioned that you are 0 degrees in Stockholm in January. That's very, very warm for this month, right?
Yeah. Cycling to work without gloves in January is not something that I used to do in the last 10 years for sure. So, but yeah, let's see if we can stop a bit the trend in the coming years and stabilize
Exactly.
all of this.
At least in our industry, we will try it. So let's
Sure.
let's talk about it. So first of all, Bleuenn, I know you from long time ago. So it's for me, it's always a pleasure. But in the benefit of the audience, well, you are almost famous in the video streaming industry. But for the few that really don't know you or have met you before, can you give us a brief overview, first of all, about yourself, who you are basically as a person, and then also an overview about your journey in the streaming industry and what really also some years ago basically led you to focus on sustainability. You're a few of the executives in our space that are leading this way. So these three angles, right? Who you are and why you end up in the streaming industry and why you decided to move ahead in sustainability in our industry.
Yeah. I'm Bleuenn Goffic. I'm today a VP Strategy and Business Development at Accedo. I started in this company 11 years ago, and before I was a software engineer in a very different space. So I was working in the public sector, helping out collective local organizations to understand their territory thanks to GIS systems. So I was very I was in coding and for a very different type of organization. And I was living in France at that time, and we moved with my partner in Sweden 12 years ago. And then I decided to change my career. I thought that maybe a skill for talking more than coding. So I I felt that maybe I should sort of link the commercial teams with the technical teams, and this is how I got this amazing opportunity to join Accedo. Accedo is a video solution provider. 12 years ago, we were focusing on building video application, designing video application for the streaming industry, and that was my first discovery of video services and so on. And I mean, even as an individual, we only barely started on consuming Netflix and so on. So obviously all of this was very new to me. And then I got the amazing chance to work by Fredrik Anderson's side. So he's one of the co-founder of the company, and I worked 8 years within his team, and I grew and learned a lot about what is this streaming industry, what is this media industry, and one of I went through different roles, looking essentially more about how do all these technology vendors come together to create more value for the operators, the broadcasters, the content providers. And one of the conclusions out of this 8 years of trying to define how do we collaborate to create value, I really missed something. I always felt that we were creating value to sell more of our softwares. Obviously, this was a prime goal. But we were also, of course, caring a lot for the business of our customers. And their link, because we care so much about the video experience and how we would include the consumer into the viewing experience, it felt that we had this unique industry where you have a global mass of audience. Everyone is accessing video today. You have companies that have values, cultural, sort of missions to entertain, to inform, to educate via digital platforms, this global audience. And then we are the one behind that is powering all of this with technology. And I felt it was missing a bit of collaborative value. So I was actually looking for maybe exiting the media industry, thinking, okay, maybe I can, look at something else.
I'm done, right, with media.
Yeah. And I was thinking, when I was younger, I did a master in archaeology. Things were on the table, and it took me a year to discover in 2017, approximately 2018, to realize that what I was missing was sort of this extracting a human value to all this industry, right? How would we drive change via the media industry? And then obviously at that moment, I'm here based in Sweden. We have Greta Thunberg that is, at school with our kids and so on. And we had this motion where suddenly on the table, the private sector was being asked, okay, so what are you going to do about it? What is your role as a company to also lead the change? And that struck me as obviously not only being a tech vendor, we have all these massive tools where we can leverage to drive change. We have the biggest audience through our customers, right? Millions of people. And we've seen in the past the media industry creating deep change. We've seen in the past that, alcohol consumption and cigarette consumption was something that you could see in every movie and in every TV show because it was the norm. But suddenly it completely disappeared. And you can also, I'm not saying that it's a one-to-one, it's also working with regulations and so on, but it's also affected the fact that a new generation are not smoking outdoors, and they're not sort of drinking as much as the old generation used to do, right? And I'm not saying this is only the media industry, but they played a role into what is the norm, what is the standard of the behavioral standard, and so on. So I dived into it. And the first impression was like, this is like an area of expertise that I can't handle myself. This is like so many terminology and very complex environmental terms and so on. But then I sort of took a step back and discussed with our founders. Okay, so what is the opportunity here? Why would we have a role there? And they both jump on the on the opportunity and sort of allowed us to get started as we do in different ways in Accedo to drive a growth initiative to evaluate what is in it for the industry and for us as a vendor in the industry. So that's how we started.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I didn't know the story, and that's true that I think us as an industry sometimes underestimate the power of entertainment, right? And what the influence in people's life could be. And it's of course the main influencers are the creators and the producers, but I think us as enablers or new technologies and new ways for people to watch in television or video entertainment in general, we also have a responsibility. So I think you guys really made it, and you were to a point where basically you find this way to create impact, right, in today's world, and especially in the challenge. So, Bleuenn, for those in the audience that who may not be fully aware, or like me, for example, could you explain why sustainability is becoming such a critical issue in the streaming industry? Why this is important, and why there is really a way we can influence sustainability through our industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think weirdly speaking, we're one of the last industry to have taken a massive or sort of a more mass adoption than others, right? The food industry has been starting on sustainability more than 20 years ago, and of course I know that some media companies like BBC, for example, are in a very long journey, so they didn't just get started like 2 years ago. But there is a clear understanding now from the media industry and the streaming industry that this is now a top priority. This is part of the materiality assessment of any major media company. And when I'm talking about materiality assessment, what it means is that this is, if you're not acting, this is what will endanger the most your business. So this is now business critical, and you can read in a lot of reports from all these media companies, as a lot of them are public, and a lot of them are actually reporting on sustainability, you will be able to see how do they link their business existence to actually those risks of not transforming and becoming a more sustainable industry. So that's first of all the fact that we are a bit of a late industry in the game in general, but we're also one of the fast moving industry. First of all, because we're for most of it, fully digital, fully cloud powered. Still a lot to go there, but in general, we have this technology that is powering us, right? So we have the capacity to transform ourselves much faster than some of the industry that have to rely on industrial processes and so on. And why is it so important is obviously that, as you know, the United Nations have now accelerated the agenda of sustainable transformation. They have just released their stock shake report at the last COP, and they are calling out for the private sector to take a role as the governments as well, right? So regulation and private sector needs to work hand in hand to address the environmental situation, but not only. There are also people-related activities that needs to happen in terms of creating equal opportunities for all and being inclusive to all. So the reason is twofolded, right? One is you have the global organizations that are looking at the transformation of the world, that are asking the private sector to move. We also have the European Union, who is was now release new regulation forcing enforcing new behavior and reporting and data minded strategy when it comes to sustainability to big companies, which means that a lot of media companies are going to be under that regulation. And from a technology standpoint, there is a clear end consumer demand. So I was reading a report research conducted by Microsoft and Dentsu about sustainable monetization, for example, and specifically looking at advertising. And we can talk about that later. But one of the data points that they were bringing, and it's a global research that they've done, is that 77% of the audience, the people in general, that will have a buying power in the coming 5 years, will only consider investing and spending money with brands that will perform sustainable advertising or will have a sustainable strategy. So we can see that there is a consumer demand. Now, it's not exactly defined how this will impact the evolution of the video services and so on. But as we're seeing that the end consumer is asking for something, from our perspective, from a technology, we see an opportunity, right? We see that not only we will need to support our customers in this transformation, but we also need to embrace and capture that demand from the end market, right? And being able to experiment with them and define what's the next generation of the video services. And frankly, so we've been in just than 10 years. I've been through 2 industry transformation, and we're going to face the third one now. And I mean, it goes very fast. So I'm actually very positive about our capacity to move. We had the cloudification, the technology transformation, where the industry had to go through this massive rethinking. We are now in the monetization transformation, where everyone is realizing that the subscription business model is capped and you can't continue just with this. And how do we rethink collaboration? I'm sure you saw the Netflix Carrefour new bundle. There are a lot of things that are happening, and we're seeing massive transformation of the revenue channels. And I can see that now we're shaping to embrace the sustainability transformation. So I think we're reacting to different things, but the ecosystem is now bubbling. And it took only from when we started 4 years ago. I mean, now it's on everyone's table. So we just received I cannot disclose the name, but an RFP from a very big European telecom operator, and 20% of their purchase criteria will be on sustainability. Who you are as a vendor, what kind of commitment are you making as a company, but also as a product, as a service that you will deliver. And suddenly this is coming side by side with the pricing negotiation, with other things. So when I'm saying it's bubbling, it's because we have actually facts now that are telling us, okay, there is an investment that is being made by the entire ecosystem, both the media companies, but also the technology.
Yeah, that's super interesting because I think you put emphasis in, I think, 2 key aspects. One is if we as an industry are forcing each other, like the example that you mentioned now, right? So we also see in the latest RFPs these criteria. So it's happening. It's really happening, and I'm glad to see that, because that gives competitive advantages to the one that are taking care more of the world, right? So I think that's very good, but also very, very important, the consumer expectations, right? Because I think you are right. More and more people are buying, let's call it green products, and this is growing. The interest for people of buying from products and services that really they feel good in buying it, that they are not influence negatively the planet, but also I read the other day that there are some governments also that are now considering to relax taxes on products and services that really can demonstrate that they are green, right? So if you combine all these aspects, right, the government's helping
Yeah.
with the green economy, the consumers more, aware that this is really important, and us as an industry really, forcing each others to do the right things on that aspect. I think you mentioned it is bubbling and it's going to happen. So I don't know when this is going to boom, if it's going to be this year or in 18 months, but definitely I see signals in the market. That's totally true.
And I
That's
think
really good.
there is, I mean, we know how investment has been a bit scarce the last few months, and for startups, and obviously, I mean, a lot of the creativity and the opportunity is being addressed by newcomers, right? And which is great because this is challenging all the old incumbents that need to rethink. And I think that we are also seeing the finance sector being extremely eager. I think with discussion with some of the private equity and so on, some are really taking that very seriously. They all have objectives of having a certain percentage of their portfolio which is associated to sustainable investment. And of course, you need to dive into what does it mean. But I think this is a unique opportunity. And if I can mention one of the surveys that we have been following, and I always promote their work because I find them really fantastic. This is not on the tech startup, but actually on the media startup side. It's a service called Water Bear Network, which now starts to be quite famous, at least a bit in Europe. So they're doing an amazing job. And their entire value proposition has been to create a new monetization thinking, new business model. You can have a look. How do they build sponsorship with companies that have a very strong sustainable agenda? How they bring awareness of very important topic, but they also build entertainment proposition. It's not just downing topics that you don't want to watch on Saturday evening. But it's a fine mix of awareness and entertainment, and all in the thinking that the platform, the business model, all of this needs to have a sustainable lens. And this is to me the new media. And suddenly, obviously, I understand that when you are a big media company, you need to go through that transformation, which is challenging, and some are much more advanced. We know that the Nordic companies have really advanced an agenda with their content pledge that they've announced 2 years ago, and so on. But I can see that we will even have a bit of a disruption from new media, newcomers, and I find that very exciting. I think this is also what will move the needle and getting the overall ecosystem to move.
That's great. Okay, in that ecosystem, what role does Accedo play in promoting sustainability within video industry, or which additional services or opportunities is Accedo working on this topic?
Yeah, so we have two angles. The first one is very much so about how do we define the standard of sustainable video service. So we have today a SaaS platform, which is called Accedo One. And this SaaS platform was built connected with a lot of other technology solutions. The idea was that they had created this marketplace which would allow a media company, to select the vendors that were fit for their needs in terms of business case, in terms of technology, and so on, but still being able to rely on something that is safe, that is ready to go, and that is obviously controlled and managed by a company that sort of owned the platform, right? So what you end up with in this kind of the SaaS ecosystem, you have our SaaS product, but you have all the other vendors. We realized that one thing we could start looking at is, if we have all this connection to the ecosystem, how are we going to actually deliver to the customer more visibility on what is the environmental impact of your video service? Because if we have all this connection, if we are this nudging component and we can integrate with all these vendors, we can probably extract data from that. So that has been our first track, which is, we believe the future is in actually in having these automated integration. We will rely on something that is not being developed over time. I don't see us, the majority of the video service in 5 years from now will likely rely on something that has already been developed, because it's going to be highly configurable, highly customizable, and so on. But it's going to be powered by technology vendors that know how to speak to each other. And we can talk about the role of AI in that matter. But the fact that we have those pre-integration makes us able to extract the data. So now, which data are we extracting, and how do we monitor, surface the right KPIs, and how do we actually start optimizing? With which criteria, right? Because you might realize that, okay, so maybe a component that we used, a programming language, a cloud service that we used for this integration is not best performing in terms of energy consumption, but maybe in latency, it's great. So are you gonna decide that, okay, I need to add more latency because I get more green power? So it's all this discussion, and we're working with, and this is the magic of sustainability, is that it created for us to talk to very different vendors that we are usually talking to, that are caring about this, right? That are really about, okay, how do we then get data exactly as Jump does, and how do we then create advice on how to optimize, and potentially even at one point automate that optimization. So there is a company called Human Robots. I invite you to have a look at their platform, and we're working very closely together with AWS. So it's all about, okay, the cloud infrastructure, what is being built on the cloud, what data are we getting from different software that are being running on the cloud, and how do we surface the right data so that we can assess what is the environmental footprint, and we can move forward to actually optimize. So that's
super interesting.
One really like concrete part, and all the learnings we're making can actually be used by any video service vendor, because the experimentation that we're doing, they can do that on their own video platform. So a second part of our work is obviously to start advocating for, okay, sharing everything we're doing, which steps have we taken, and so on. So that was something we've been now working for a year, and we're going to be soon publishing some really cool outcome about the work that has been done with Human Robots. The second part is experimentation. And I think this is beyond sustainability. This is something that is always, until you feel the pain, how much should you invest? This is a question that any company, how much do you invest in an opportunity that you foresee, but at the same time, this is not mature, this is not exactly known how much business value this will create, and so on. So how much should you invest, right? So this agile and experimentation mindset applies very well to sustainability. And how do we help our customers and also partners to engage into those experimentation? And we actually did some experimentation very recently on another part of the ecosystem, so from the cloud to the actual device manufacturer, because in the environmental value chain, and I'm only talking about environmental impact, but I will be talking about other parts of sustainability that we are also looking at. But on the environmental impact, obviously there is the entire before video production, then the video distribution, and then it's actually the video streaming on the device itself. And some devices are extremely heavy consumer of energy. And if you're looking at reducing the overall pipeline of a video streaming environmental impact, you need to have a look at the device. So we started to run tests on the video experience. What is it that would decrease the need of energy from the device? You can't just say, "Oh, don't binge watch anymore." This is not good enough as an advice. So
yeah.
exactly. So you need to have a look at what is actually driving energy consumption, and then start working with manufacturers, concretely speaking, on looking at, okay, how do we optimize, exactly as the cloud, how do we optimize the use of your platform, because you know best how you manufacture it, what's going to be the next version, and so on. So our work with OEMs to really look into that. So that's another kind of experimentation, and we'll release a first white paper, and we're going to continue working with different manufacturers on that journey. So that's really, I'm sure a lot of us have been hearing about Greening of Streaming, which is an amazing organization that have been looking at exactly that, experimenting in order to produce standards. We are exactly in the same mindset, in the same collaboration, and trying to find out, okay, testing, sharing our knowledge, and so that eventually our customers can progress in building a sustainable roadmap. But we're obviously mindful that all of this needs also to drive value now. There is in order for you to build executive buy-in, you obviously need to pitch the business case 5 years from now, but also clarify what is the short-term impact. And of course, that could be, we'll see a lot happening in the coming 12 months in terms of employee engagement. Everyone has been attached to their seats for the last 24 months. So we can imagine that a lot of companies will think about how do they retain their product leaders? How do they engage employees around the video service value proposition? And investing in experiments and sustainability can be a way to engage your teams, for example. And there are many, many other ways as well.
Yeah, that's a good angle as well. So talking about the video streamers, so what are the main challenges streaming services face in becoming more sustainable? Because so what they should do and what is really the steps they should follow. I'm asking always this to my guest, because basically there's a lot of things to do, right? So basically video streamers now needs to do more with less, and
Exactly.
some years ago you just need to decide if you want to be a subscription business or advertisement based, and now you need to be both, and then you need to launch fast channels, and now you need to be green, and then you need to be profitable, and you need to grow, and it's like crazy, right? So when I talk to my
It is very
customers,
overwhelming.
there is always this feeling, and it's not that just that I'm saying, is that they are telling me that they are overwhelmed, right? So they need to do a lot of things with less resources and in less time. And it looks like if you are not running, you are going to miss the train, something. Same with AI, for example, right? So now we need to be an AI first company now and then. So it's kind of crazy. So what I think our responsibility as vendors is sometimes is also be very concrete, right? And very, very specific on what really they should do in these different areas out of the buzzwords, right? So sustainability, I think I'm more than sure that for most CEOs of video streaming services is something that they really care about. But I'm not sure if they know which are the steps and what they should do to move in that direction. So what would be your recommendation for moving in this direction?
So that's a very good question, and we are actually putting together a training format for media partners and media companies, and we'll probably present that at NAB and start rolling that out, because this is the question we're getting all the time.
Okay.
And I think this overwhelming feeling is obviously shared across industries. The good thing is because other industries have been through that process before us, there is a lot of work that has already been done on helping out companies to actually go through a corporate sustainable transformation.
It's smart. We
So
can
that's
take
exactly.
the lessons from other industries
Exactly.
and
So the UN has done a fantastic job to actually streamline all instructions when it comes to environmental aspect and transformation for a company to capture data and then assess where they are and then make a plan to reduce their overall consumption. And most of the time, what is very enlightening is that, first of all, capturing data, again, some industries are much more challenged with industry workflows. And I would say if you look at a company like Apple or AWS, obviously they have all these massive data centers and so on. And some of our companies have a massive, broadcast on-prem and so on. So there will be some challenges, of course, on getting some data points with accuracy. But this is why you rely on technology vendors, because the technology vendors have as a mandate now to help you getting that data. And the second part is that what you realize, and that's particularly the case when we are a vendor, but it will still be for a media company, is that a lot of your environmental footprint is today assumed to come from your value chain. And what is very interesting is that by doing very small things like some of our customers are already doing, which is, okay, in order for me to reduce my environmental footprint, what I need to do is incentivize the others to do so. That's my biggest role. And being a media company and being that kind of budget and having, 20% of your budget that is going to external vendors or 30% to external vendors, you obviously have this massive ability to reduce your own carbon footprint by simply incentivizing your vendors to reduce theirs. And then suddenly the procurement process, and this is why we're seeing those RFPs. This is not coming out of a hat. It's
that's
actually
true.
because this is the most tangible fast track for you
Very
to
straightforward. Yeah.
Exactly. So you incentivize the ecosystem. We're all interdependent. So that's very simple. If the buyer start asking that he wants this to be reported on and that he wants clarity on commitment on sustainability, then suddenly you have a mass transformation that is just happening by the simple procurement process. So that's the first thing, which is super easy. You can, for anyone listening, you can contact me on LinkedIn. We have some specific training materials for this, but have a look at what is called SBTI. And this is the initiative led by WWF and the UN in order for you to go through the journey of capturing data on your environmental footprint and reporting on it and start acting on it. So SBTI, and there's a ton of vendors that have, of course, were born out of the sustainability movement. So we're working with a partner like Normative, and Normative is a sustainable data intelligence platform, and they are helping us making sense of all of this. So they are a counterpart because we didn't invest into having environmentalists coming inside our team, right? To do that, we had to, of course, do a bit of a self-learning, but now so much has been done and clarified by the UN that it's actually fairly easy to start with.
That's
But
great.
that's only one part of it, because the challenge you have is, first of all, it's a very technical thing. It's not very accessible to most in terms of, except the people that are actually working on collecting and so on. You're not engaging your consumers with it. You're not engaging your employees with it and so on. So all of this feels very far away from most people that are in the company or benefiting from your service. And when you're saying that you are in the sustainable transformation, everyone is wondering, yeah, okay, are we really? Because I don't understand. I don't see this, right? So you need to do the second part, which is to make your business articulated on a sustainable angle. So, what is the opportunity for you to invest in sustainability in the product that you're building or in the service that you're delivering? And this is where it becomes very interesting, because there nothing is defined. So that's very clear. What is a sustainable video service is that, would we guarantee that there is a 50-50 gender representation on a homepage of the Netflix app? Is that a check mark for? There's so many things that could be done. But the great thing is that instead of trying to replicate Netflix constantly from all of us to the just building Netflixes again and again and again.
And by the way, the only ones that really rocket trying to be Netflix is Netflix, right? So.
Exactly. So we should just go back to the drawing board and start thinking about actually cool evolution that are going a bit differently about things. So we were talking with a media company about sustainable advertising, and okay, advertising is about pushing consumption. Okay, so how do we define sustainable advertising? Okay, but there are actually cool things you could do with advertising. If you're a broadcaster and you're obviously selling your advertising slots, you can choose the company you're selling that to. How do you start investing, involving your consumer into this? Would they want to see that ads or not? How do you make that maybe more interactive, because people will be interested in understanding more from this product that is green and want to buy? So suddenly there is what I feel is the opportunities that product people are building the video experience of now. We're running out a bit of creativity. I mean, frankly, so I know that there's a lot on business model that is being done, but what about the value to the consumer? What about, how do we reestablish this relationship? And I think then it gives a complete different opportunity for product teams at media companies to think. So that's, yeah. I think what you need to then have a look at is really mandating your team to start experimenting with things, and how to build that data-minded culture, running experiments and including your consumers into what you're building. I think this is the key. Okay. And okay. That can apply to sustainability, but not just sustainability, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's talk a bit about the relationship of this topic with one of my favorites in all sections in every podcast. That it's how we link this with AI data, right? So, at the end, considering the significant energy consumption of streaming platforms, right? That it's increasing. And how important are data management and efficiency in achieving sustainability goals. How we can do the goods and the bads, right? Because I think definitely AI and all these technologies can optimize a lot of processes and can make the processes more efficient. So more efficiency is less, cloud processing, and less cloud processing is less energy and so on. But at the same time, I think we all, as an industry and as humans, are interacting more and more and more with technology. And the other day, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, that is Lex Friedman, that he was interviewing Jeff Bezos. And Jeff Bezos, he was very, very sharp in out of the bullshit. He said, we as humans are going to increasingly consume more and more energy. It's almost impossible to retain that. So at the end, what we need to do is to do other things that really can compensate that level of energy consumption, right? So how AI and technology, AI, especially now these days, Gen AI and all these topics are really reshaping the way we think about how we need to do processes at all levels, right? So how we can take advantage of that also in sustainability. how we can make this work in the right path instead of the wrong one. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a massive and untapped opportunity right now. But I think I can give you some example of where I feel the first steps. Maybe not where we will be in 5 years, but the first steps that we are seeing heading towards. So I think when it comes to, I can see two parts. One is environmental optimization, and the other one is around the actual impact of the content from a people perspective, right? So whatever you're watching is going to influence you as a person. And how do we drive, as I said, with the sort of the evolution of what are the things that how people are behaving in TV shows and movies today compared to how they were behaving 10 years ago, right? So the first thing on terms of AI and data for optimization, I think it's very clear that anything related to interconnectivity of different softwares, I mean, nowadays it's you're capable of just giving an AI engine, this is the API of software A and this is the API of software B. Please advise on how they should integrate to each other, right? The fact that we will be able to optimize this sort of a best of breed type of building and how it's being deployed on the cloud, and advise ops team to actually on how should they drive optimization. I think this is the one of the first thing we'll see. So we talk a lot about coding right now, and of course we can see that there's a lot of help from software developers today to just do bug fixing, do peer reviews, and so on. But it's not just going to be that. It's probably going to be beyond that. That it will give a lot of sustainability, environmental footprint, or the carbon footprint is just one of KPIs. There is tons of other KPIs on when you're building a software in the cloud, right? So all of this will be driven from the development to actually the operation of the video platforms, and having AI helping out making sense of this very distributed ecosystem. But for that, you actually need to have a common ground, which is the cloud. If you cannot share this resource, if you cannot be, and I'm not here to promote your partner's business, but frankly so, we will only be able to do that with softwares that are accessible from the cloud, that are built in a modern fashion. So yes, we can help out, but at one point, the cloud transformation needs to accelerate. So AI will be able to take over in terms of optimization and sort of advice to development of video application. I'm guessing, obviously, that there will be a lot of help as well in terms of building, new components and in the infrastructure of devices and so on. But this is an area where I'm not really knowledgeable about, so I will not talk about it.
No, that's really good. We are seeing a lot of movements in cloud vendors, and actually today, in the most important cloud vendors, there is ways really to optimize your carbon footprint. Companies like us, for example, that we process a lot of data from a lot of customers all around the world, so the data loads are high, and we as a company have we need to be responsible in that sense to how to optimize the use of the cloud infrastructure, not just because of the cost, that of course also has an impact on that, but also because if you do it in the right way and with the right schema and the right guidelines, you can be greener. So that, I think there is a lot of education path also that we need to follow as well. So Bleuenn, I think we came to the end. It's been a fantastic conversation. I learned a lot, And I think I'm excited about what is going to happen in NEB. I think what you mentioned about the training courses and all this tangible information for all of us as industry vendors, customers, streamers. Everybody is gonna be eager to learn more, because I think it's really needed. So we will be there in Vegas as well. Hopefully we can drink a wine together as well, as always. and it's been a pleasure to have you here, and thank you very much for joining me today.
No, yeah, it was yeah. It's a lot of things that need to happen, but I do think that it will bring light to the businesses that are open for collaboration and experimentation, that are seeing the opportunity of being data driven. And we know, both of us, how this is a journey that's still ongoing. But as you said, you highlighted very well the monetization, transformation, the profitability, KPI will go hand in hand with sustainability. So I'm really positive about what's coming next. And thank you for inviting me. This is so much fun, and hope to have aspired for some change.
I'm sure a lot of people
Yeah.
will learn a lot with this.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Bleuenn.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Jump Data Driven Video, the unified analytics and personalization platform for video services. For more information, please visit www.jumpdatadriven.com.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked it, please subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube to stay updated on new episodes. See you soon.